Welcome back to the long-awaited episode of the Doggone Truth About Rescue. This season we took like a 2 month, 3 month
We took a
break.
really long break on this one. Not the rescue, the podcast.
The podcast, yes. Life started lifing, I think, for all of us. And it was we haven't recorded one since I moved. Because I
Wow.
moved in January. And then I was like, let me get settled a little bit more. And then it was football season, and here it is now, May. So this episode is another catch-up fireside chat with Jen because we have 3 months of stuff to catch up on.
That's five.
5.
Just 5 months. Oh my gosh.
Sai's also here. Share some updates. You've had some big life updates in the last 5 months.
We're not talking about me. We're talking about what's going on with.
This podcast is about all of us, Sai.
I don't. I don't know. Tell me what has happened.
You had a daughter graduate from college.
Yes. Football, just football and football.
Okay. Well, Jen, now we'll pass it over to you.
I don't even know where to begin. It's always better when we get in a flow of this because then I know what we talked about. I probably should have listened to our last one.
Well, honestly, the biggest one that actually has happened since the last time we had the podcast, the minis arrived.
The minis! Oh my God, did we not even talk about the minis?
That's right.
Have not talked about the minis.
3 beautiful miniature horses that are part of our sanctuary. Okay, can we just go backwards for a moment because this is how I talk and what we do, and a thought popped in my head. Mm-hmm. I met Sheila's mom, not for the first time, but an additional time in Chicago when we were there for a game. And what I loved so much was she just took a moment and hugged me and said how much she loved our podcasts and that she had no idea. To me, she said, you have no idea the reach that you have to people that aren't even near your rescue or connected to your rescue. So first and foremost, such a beautiful note from your lovely mother who created a beautiful daughter. And I met your sister who looks identical to you. It was so funny to see that. But it really is touching. And so I just wanted to just say thank you to you and Sai for doing this, because I know I say this many, many times. You guys just jumped in not knowing what you were doing and dove into the deep end. And that's really the theme of our rescue, is really just kind of, people say this all the time, you're a fearless leader. And I don't think you're truly a leader if you don't feel that fear. You have to feel that fear. Otherwise, it's just your comfort zone. Otherwise, it's just things that you're capable doing. And it's when you know that you don't know what you're doing, that it's outside of your comfort zone, and then it's pushing yourselves beyond you thought anything possible, that's when miracles happen. That's when we come together and we change the world. Just with a podcast saying, let's get on, let's figure it out, and let's start talking about the behind the scenes stuff. So that was a moment that touched me. I didn't get to share it with you, but she was so proud of you and the podcast. And I was so grateful for just sharing that moment with her. What were we talking about?
Minis.
The minis. I love the minis. We've got 3 little miniature horses. And they are sassy as all heck. I've been kicked. I've been bit. I've been stepped on. And that happened all on the first day. Let's just be clear about that. We have done everything wrong with them to learn.
Not everything.
Everything to learn what's right. So it's funny because the first 2 weeks, I can't even tell you how many messages people sent me that they were worried we're going to kill them. It's like the sleeping did not happen then because of the grass and the colic and the overeating and all of the sugar levels. And so,
well, I will say I did the first wrong, but you still kept it wrong.
Which one?
Naming Shaggy, thinking that she was the way.
Yes, that's very true.
And then you kept the name Shaggy.
Because Shaggy's a beautiful girl. She doesn't need to be defined by her name to her gender. And she is beautiful. Penny has designated herself the princess of the pasture. She's the boss. And everybody loves Daphne. I call her Big Lips because she just comes at you with the big lips. and it's just smooches, and she's looking for carrots. I do potentially bribe them with my love through carrots. But I've met the most amazing people through it, and it's been a journey. It's a lot of work, and I couldn't love them anymore. And today we actually just I personally bought a trailer for them so that we can go to senior home visits, to where I'll share this story. It just happened to be an afternoon, and I was out in the horse barn cleaning up poop because, my God, do they just poop nonstop? Is that what horses do? I swear, I'll pick up like 4 piles and then they'll just walk over and do it again. But I just so happened to check my messages, and one of our barn staff said, Jen, there's an elderly woman here that would like to visit the minis. And I said, sure, come on down. And she happened to be there with her caretaker. And of course, we couldn't get the volunteer thing to upload on the phone. I said, don't worry about it. Just come over and pet them. And it was probably all of a half hour that we spent together. And she walked up, and Penny was the one who came right up to her. And Penny stayed with her the entire time. And it turns out that she had a miniature horse farm to where kids would come in Kansas and visit her. I forgot the name of the farm, actually pretty popular, but she was living in a home now. And she was suffering from some type of dementia. And she said she had 4 phrases that she just kept saying over and over. And it was how beautiful the farm was, how blessed we were to have the minis. And if we ever went to Wichita, because that's where you show minis, and if I showed them. And I was like, I don't show them. And then she said, you should show them.
We can start training.
And then it would go over again, and it would just kind of repeat. And so it was just a half hour of that. And by the time that she left, when it was ready to go, her aide said to me, she goes, this is the most that she has opened up in the past 6 months that she's been there. And right before she left, she put her hand on her, what do you call it? What, a nuzzle or nose? What do you call it? Muzzle. She put her hand right on her nose there. And then she started to tear up. And she said how much she loved them and how much she missed her minis. And it was just kind of one of those moments where you just realize how much you take everything for granted, how much you take your memory, your walking, your breath, your life. And we get so caught up in the day-to-day noise that we don't just appreciate the moments and the love that we have and how blessed we are to share that with our animals. So really, we had flirted with the idea of wanting to take them to senior homes, but we knew they were very naughty. So they needed to learn a lot of manners. So we brought on a really amazing, actually equestrian. She's been in the Olympics, so she's helping with our minis to help train them, and Victoria, just wonderful people that want to make a difference in this world and understand the importance of being present and sharing the love that we have. So our minis, they were going to go to our first senior home visit 2 weeks ago, but we were going to borrow a trailer and the light was out. So I was like, I know it's time. We got to get our own. So I drove out to Missouri. I pulled up, looked online. I'm like, I'll take it. I drove it home today. And it's the cutest little red trailer. So we just, everything's little red this, little red that. So excited for that adventure. One of the things I know I have shared before is we do a ton of senior home visits with our dogs. So I took my Josie there over Christmas Eve, and it was one of the most special experiences that I had with her because I wasn't able to get home to my family. And to see the people that didn't have family that came to visit them, but to hear their stories about how they once had a dog and what their dog was like and how much they love them and miss them. And to be able to share my girl with her, I walked away with so much more than I know they did that day. And that's what giving of your time, your heart, and your love really does. It's giving is the most selfish thing you can ever do because you get so much in return. So the amazing people that volunteer with taking our dogs to retirement homes and now our minis. I know I say this all the time, and if you listen to our podcast, I'm a broken record. What you put out comes back to you. And when you're putting out love, even if you screw up along the way, love's going to come back. Compassion, kindness. It's such an amazing gift. So she was right. We are blessed. We were meant to be here, and we're meant to share all the blessings that God gives us. So, and that's very similar to our new adventure with a stolen idea that I had from somebody I saw on Facebook.
I love that we don't even have to prompt you
You
anymore.
don't have to talk. I'm going to move on to this one.
Tell us more, Jen.
This really does involve you guys because I feel like you're going to need to take a day off of work and run our new, this is the name, I haven't revealed it yet. What was it again? Little Big Paws pontoon. So that's the name. I ordered the decal for it. So I bought a pontoon because I want it. Whenever you have something in life that makes you happy, you got to share it. And I think, taking the dogs on the boat is such an amazing thing. And what I realized, because I'm psychotic, I'm single and have 4 dogs, is very hard to take 4 dogs on a regular boat by myself. So I'm like, okay, pontoon makes sense. But why would I buy a pontoon? I'm hardly ever going to use it. But if I'm going to use a pontoon, or if I'm going to take my dogs on a boat outing, I want it to be on a pontoon because I feel like it's just easier. I'll just walk all my lunatics on. None of them are leash trained. They're all wild nutheads. And so they're all wrapped up when I walk them, but I love them and I wouldn't change it for the world. So I was like, okay, I can't just buy a pontoon and use it like once a month. So I thought, I stole this idea from the Pooch pontoon where just a really kind soul, she has a pontoon and she brings shelter dogs on there and she goes on lives and she promotes them for adoption. I thought, what an amazing way to get a dog on an outing, to help a volunteer, or like to have a volunteer have an amazing day, and nobody has to be charged for anything because not everybody has the funds to go on a boat. And when you have something that brings joy, it's meant to be shared. So Little Big Paws pontoon is going to be launched in June once the slip gets put into Clinton Marina, and then we get a sign up genius. And then it's just going to be, again, it's another way to share the love. It gets our dogs out on the lake. It gets you out on the lake. And what a beautiful, beautiful thing to make memories, because that's what life is about. It's making memories and sharing joy.
Love it.
I meant to say love, but I said jump. So joy and love. I don't
Give me the name again. What's the name of it? The pontoon?
Little Big Paws pontoon. And the reason behind that,
Yep.
this is so stupid. I was just listening to music and the song Pontoon by Little Big Town came on. So anytime somebody walks onto the boat with their doggy date, we have to play the song where it starts to sing on a pontoon by Little Big Town. So it's Little Big Paws pontoon. That's the adventure. We've got to blast the music on that because if anybody knows me, I love music. So it's going to be filled with music, fun, dogs. And then all that we ask is that you share your photos to help promote the dog and you share the memories. And we hope everybody has a wonderful time. It gets the dogs out of the shelter. It gets them with the fresh air and the water. And again, it's about making the most of this very, very, very precious life that we have to the fullest. So I didn't share much about the rescue updates. Those were just 2 really fun adventures that we have planned.
Well, those are still part of it. I know I think what I've seen the biggest one is the Wichita update.
Yeah. So if you guys have listened to our podcast on Wichita, it's funny because my mom just discovered that we have a podcast. Mom, shame on you. You knew we had a podcast. I just don't think
she did tell me that when I seen her in Chicago.
Yeah. She said she listened to our Wichita one and her heart just broke for Mikhail. And guys, if you listen to that one, Mikhail is still with us. He's thriving with his family. And let me be clear on that. He's thriving with love. Unfortunately, we did find out that he has an incurable form of cancer. So his time is limited. But my goodness, the time that he has had on this earth has been worth every single moment. So he could not have landed in a better home with the perfect adopters that he was absolutely meant to be with. So his journey is not over yet until it's filled, but it's amazing. And she had just listened to that and she goes, just tell me how he is. Did he make it? And it was, yes, he's still here. But for those that are unaware, Wichita over the past 2 years is one of the largest shelters in Kansas and now has a youth rate of close to 30%. So if you think about that.
Because when we started talking about it on our first episodes, it was under 10 or just hitting close to 10. Because we were talking about like every 100 dogs, that's still 10 that are getting euthanized.
You're exactly right.
30 is insane.
Well, so think about that. I've got 4 dogs in my house.
No.
One of those 3 dogs that walked in would never walk out. And it's hard because they do not let rescues in there still, unless you sign an agreement that you will not speak anything negative about them or call them a kill shelter, which oppresses our First Amendment right for free speech. And I can go into that more and more. But ultimately, we spent 2 years begging them to change, begging them to help be the change, offering to do it. And nothing happened. So I think people were desperately looking for hope. And we didn't know, because people would message us and ask us, what can we do? What can we do? And we filled out the RFP, request for proposal, when they were actually considering letting someone else take the shelter over. They didn't do that. I personally spent $5,000 investing into the program that we created to help them with that RFP proposal. And nothing happened. So we're secretly / not so secretly pulling from rescues that have signed the agreement and then transferring to us. But the bottom line is we're not seeing the animals that are inside of there. So these animals are dying, faceless, nameless, and simply as a number. And that's the very big difference between police officers who view them as inventory and rescues who view them as souls. So kind of thinking about this and going over, well, what can we do? The only people that we can ever control, and this is a lesson God keeps reinforcing with me, is us, is ourselves, is ultimately, what can I do to change the world? I can change myself, and I can change the directions and the behaviors, my responses and attitudes, etc., and anything that I can personally control. And so we kind of took a step back and said, okay, this is it. We're going to lease a facility in Wichita and bring Always Furever to Wichita. Now, we get a lot of questions about that. Does that change us helping the Wichita animal shelters? Can we go in there? No, that doesn't change anything. But what it does change is by having a shelter license within the city of Wichita, we can take in strays directly, which means if you find an old dog on the street that is sick, that if they were brought to Wichita Animal Shelter, 99% chance that dog's going to be euthanized the moment it walks in. And that's obviously me making a judgment that that's what they do. They don't even give them a chance for someone to say, hey, I can help. They just automatically mercy youth. And those are the dogs. Those are the cats that we see as souls immediately and say, hey, we go all in on saving the ones literally nobody else wants. So if somebody posts and say, I found this lost, sick old dog or cat, can anybody help on these amazing social network pages and stuff, which is such a beautiful thing. Social media can have many, many harmful effects, but for the world of rescue, hundreds of thousands of animals are saved simply because people are connected with a larger purpose to help save them. So that's where we're called. We put a letter of intent out on a 6,000-foot warehouse, 6,000 feet warehouse building. So we're in negotiations on that now, and we hope to turn a lease and be there within the next couple months. It kind of ties back to what we were talking about earlier. I'm not going to lie. It's scary. It's absolutely out of my comfort zone because I'm not there. It's 3 hours away from here. And I don't know that I could physically be there every day. I couldn't, I could drive the RV out there, work remotely, help get it set up. And I've been thinking about that too. We have an amazing employee, Greta, who has been running our cat program out there. She has tons of shelter experience. But ultimately, we would be doing exactly what we did with our little red barn and starting, a grassroots efforts out there, ground zero, and rebuilding everything that we have done here just there. Now, the amazing part about this is that we've got 7 years of experience. We've got incredible connections. We've got incredible volunteers, but we need more volunteers. And what's important to know with this shelter is it will be just about 100% run by volunteers because we don't have the funds to put a full-time staff there yet until we grow our base there. But for those that aren't aware, that's how we started. That's how this little red barn started. And for 3 years, we didn't have a single staff member. It was literally everybody killing themselves trying to just keep us afloat, which we learned a lesson from, and that's why I say all the time, our most valuable asset is and always will be our people. It's our people that save lives every day. It's our people that put their heart and soul into caring for our animals. with such incredible detail and love. It's our barn staff. It's our volunteers. It doesn't matter if you get paid or not paid. It's your time that you give. It's the love that you give. And that's where you see such an incredible difference between Always and Forever and many, many other rescues, in that I don't know the number, but if I had to guess and bet, I would guess that there's at least 100 Facebook followers. And maybe that sounds a lot, sounds little. I think that's probably way too low. That could name at least every single dog at each one of our barns. And that's a big statement to say because we post every day. Now, I'm not going to say that the 2 people on this call that run this podcast can do it, because I feel like we might lose that test.
I can't.
But guys, that's how committed and that's how much love our followers have to these dogs and to these cats. Now, hands down, I couldn't name all the cats. They go rogue and I don't even know. They all come in. I don't even know where these cats are coming, falling from the sky right now. So same thing with dogs, but that's what it ultimately comes down to. It's space. Like the space, if you have space and you are licensed to take in animals, that's how you save lives. So it's just one more way to instantly save lives right now. Now, I did a live on this, a live on Facebook, and I shared this, and the overwhelming response was positive. Why? Because it's hope. Because finally we have something that people can hold on and they can say, hey, you're going there. I'm going there. I'm going to support you, whatever it is. Let's do something. But not everybody felt that way. And I had a very concerned, very, very kind-hearted follower say, Jen, wrote a message in an email, and I know that others thought this too, so I kind of addressed this as well. She said, Jen, I watched your live and my heart sank because you had such big dreams about KCMO and Homestead East. And that's where I really felt like my heart was calling with the St. Francis Hospital and the initiative to take care of animals that owners can afford. And it just feels like you're being pulled every direction. And there's only so much money in this world. There's only so many initiatives you can do. Maybe, can you just share if that's lost? But my heart is sad. And I did a terrible job summarizing that. It was a very eloquent email where she shared her heart and vulnerable to it. And she had been a follower and a previous adopter. And I value feedback, constructive, negative, positive, whatever you want to call it. I want to know what's on your heart, because this isn't my rescue. This is everyone's rescue. And I took a step back and I thought, you know what? Let's just address this. And I said, KCMO Homestead East is still full force ahead. But if anybody knows anything about construction, it is like mind-numbingly slow. And the permits and the plans and the approvals, and we are technically in a flood zone, which means FEMA has to approve. Now, our building is not in the flood zone, but it still means FEMA, it's one additional government approval. And I said, what you don't see behind the scenes, and the exciting news is that we just signed our pre-construction contract to have these architectural designs done, to go forward with the permits that the city did review and approve. So there's things in motion behind the scenes. And I think it's incredibly important to realize, just because you have one dream doesn't mean that that's the only dream that you can have. And it doesn't mean that there's only resources enough for that dream. Because I think when we put limitations on ourselves, when we put limitations on our dreams, then we literally are putting limitations on God. And everything we do is impossible for us to do by ourselves. And the only way that it's possible is if we come together and we believe in something that's so big that only God can make it come true. And that's what KCMO Homestead East is. And so you're thinking, okay, the approvals, we still have to raise $4 million for KCMO to go forward. Our pre-construction contract, damn it, it's late. And then my word slur, I'll get this. That's about $300,000. And that's for stuff, you guys, that nobody wants to donate to. That's all behind the scenes infrastructure stuff. But we've raised about $200,000 for that so far. So the wheels are in motion, and it really is God's timing, not necessarily ours. But here's the difference. Our KCMO Homestead dream will happen, but that's 2026 that you're looking. This is long down the road versus Wichita, Elise, and right now. And what does right now mean? It means space, and it means saving lives. It also doesn't mean that we take away donors or we take away funds or energy towards that. We open up the doors for others to be included and invited and share our dream with a different audience, which is Wichita, which needs hope, which needs something to believe in, where it's just been so unbelievably heartbreaking out there and sad. And they've got great, great rescues out there, beauties and beasts. They're never giving up. They're fighting a battle that just keeps getting steeper and steeper, but they never stop fighting. And so we'd just be going there to help support the rescues that need us and the strays that need us. So I think that's important to know, that you can have, I mean, miracles happen every day, that happen in the little things, the big things. But it really is just having that incredible faith to know that God's guiding you on this journey this entire way, even when you don't know where you're going. Because we just celebrated our seventh year anniversary. It's so funny because you guys are here 8 years ago painting the barn. There's nobody else has seen the barn before, and you guys did. Si, I remember you on the scaffolding painting up there. So it's amazing. The journey is beautiful. It's crazy. It's scary. And I had a friend ask me the other day, she goes, do you think you had this faith, this crazy, insane faith? Because I use those words all the time when you started. Or do you think you gained it along the way? And I'd say that I don't know that I knew that I had this faith at the beginning. But I knew in my soul we did too much good for God to ever let us fail. And kind of like what we were talking before this podcast even started, not everybody in rescue is supportive of you and working for you and wants you to succeed. When people see you living their dreams, and they're not supportive of you, ultimately there's something inside them that feels inadequate. Well, hey, you did that. Why can't I? And there's just all these different psychological things that happen. And also, sadly, there's a lot of people that don't value the lives of animals like we do. And dang it, I'm just going to put this in the universe. I feel like we are called to save farm animals too. I don't know why, but I see the cows in my head, and I see them, and they get zoomies too, and they deserve to live. And I need to be a vegetarian. I need to work on that. Sheila, I know you are, but they have souls too. And so if you want us to start a farmstead, we could use some land, and we will absolutely, I want to save the pigs, and I want to save the goats, and I want to save the cows too. So I'm not putting a limit on that, because I know God is limitless in every single way. And if your heart is called to be a part of us, we're here. And it's not about where you live, it's about what you believe. That's why I always say we're a mission and a movement, and not just a rescue. And I've talked this whole dang time. So
literally, I think a half an hour. You even answered the questions that I was thinking in my head, and I didn't even have to say it. Like, I was going to ask of, does this put homestead?
Same me too. Like, I had questions in my head, but as you're talking, you're answering all the questions.
It's that telepathic, the telepathy. Have you listened to the telepathy tapes? Oh, Jen, you need to, both of you, the telepathy tapes about how.
Is that what it's called? Telepathy tapes?
Yes. And how nonverbal people with autism basically communicate through their minds.
I was reading your minds. You outed me. No.
Well, you like find people on the similar wavelength, and you like, you know, when you have that feeling of like, oh, I was just going to call you, and then like somebody calls you, it's stuff like that. But then they like really hone in on it, and they did a whole case study on it with the parents and the teachers and the nonverbal children and their parents, and how the parents try to hide things, and they would find it because they were reading their parents' minds where they were putting everything.
Okay, I love that, because I use something very similar, and I always say when you put it out in the universe, it always comes back to you. And it's such a funny example, because it's so weird that we were just talking about this now, because a few days ago I was like, we need mini goats. I'm like, I feel like this needs to be, we need to start somewhere, because there's something inside of me that says we are meant to save more. And I don't necessarily know how or what way. Maybe that's the minis that started that. Or, we have rescued goats and placed them in loving adoptive.
They're the gateway farm animals, mini horses.
But, I got in a board call, and I just put that out there. And Craig mentioned, when you get your $50 million donation, we'll get the mini goats. And I said, you know what? I'm calling you right away when the mini goats come. And then in our foster group, someone tagged me on a little baby goat and said, Jen, you need that. And Judy was just thinking about that. So all these things, we just put it in the universe, and it really does. It's amazing, because I am a big believer, and I put things out there. I put it on Facebook. I don't care if it doesn't come true. It's amazing that it does years later, and then you just see it. But that's exactly what I did 8 years ago. I put it out there. I'm going to start a dog rescue and buy a farm in Kansas and figure it out. And I shared the post with the group, and it was just, God plants these seeds in you, and you just watch it grow. And I think it really is watering it with love along the way. And it's up to us to keep that path going. So it's a beautiful, incredible thing. And did I have this faith? Going back to that, I don't even know if I answered that when I first started. No, I don't think I did to the extent I do now. But now I know in my soul that we can do anything together if it's driven. And it sounds crazy. I know sometimes I sound crazy. I'm like, I'm not a preacher. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about sometimes. But really, if God puts that dream in your heart and you know it, there are certain things that you just know. And that's why I always say, follow your gut, follow your intuition. That's guiding you to be where you're supposed to be. And we're all on this journey for a reason. So I know we're meant to do things. I know we're meant to change the way people view shelters. They can be run with love. They can be run with kindness. And it was a very intentional shift in January when I started doing lives in the morning with the dogs. So I have a pack of 10 to 14 dogs. It varies based on the number of dogs in our red barn. And I let them out every morning. And it's on live on Facebook, which means a fight could break out, which means, somebody could pee on me. They have. But I do that because you see these other rescues with these awesome videos like, oh, look, there's 50 dogs all together. And there's very one specific example that I'm using right now in my head, and I won't mention them. But it's like, oh, wow, look, that's amazing. That's the best life ever. Is that real? It's not live. Who are you on the camera and who are you off the camera? And don't tell me that in a pack of 50 dogs, there isn't a fight, because the one thing you cannot control is every single dog that is a rescue in a pack. And every single dog that comes to us has a different past, has a different story. So learning their behaviors, learning their triggers. So there are some that I'm like, okay, I'm not going to introduce them right away. They'll wait, and then they're barking at me, waiting to come out. But I do that because I want you to know and share the realness. That's not even a word, the authenticity of who we are. And we're just this little red barn in Kansas to say, hey, let's challenge the way things have always been, and let's make them better. Let's make these dogs wake up every morning and know how much they're loved. Let's share the excitement of breakfast where they're screaming at me and flying all over the couches or jumping in my face. I've got a whole closet full of shoes that I call my formerly known as white shoes, because I don't know why I always wear white shoes when I go over to the barn, and I'm always covered in mud every single day because it's a mud pit. But that's just who we are. We're these real human beings that didn't have a background in dogs and cats that came together and said, let's try a different way. Let's not just accept people's incredibly low and ridiculous standards for shelter animals, and let's make it better. And let's learn and figure out how to do this. And the most amazing thing is that all these incredibly beautiful people came together. We've got the best trainer out there. We've got an apprentice, Sammy, you're going to be a trainer too. And it's just good attracts good. And that's what Always Does and Forever is doing over these past 5 months. There's so much to talk about. There's some really heartbreaking stories, but along with those stories came beautiful people and miracles and coming together and believing that they're worth saving. There were four little kittens that were dropped off at our Osawatomie shelter, barely breathing, barely moving. We had a staff member race in to replace another staff member that raced them to Blue Pearl, holding them in their lap. We name them all. We name every single soul. But the staff member came into work. It's like 6:30 at night. We close at 7, rushed to Blue Pearl. And then a police officer brought another little kitten in at 7:30. So we had another staff member rush in, pick up the kitten, drop them off there. Every single kitten died at Blue Pearl. 3 of them died that night. 2 of them died in the morning. We were left with a $3,000 bill for maybe 4-day-old kittens that we fought together to show them that their life was worth simply trying to save. And I don't know another rescue. I don't know any municipal shelter that doesn't have a vet that would do that. And that's why I say you throw everything out the window about how things used to be and say, when an animal has no one, then they should have everyone. So why isn't the standard of care better when we all come together and give all of our love and all of our resources? And one thing that I forgot about that note that someone said is, I only have $5 or $10 to give. The most beautiful thing about our rescue, I know I've shared this before, we don't have an angel donor. We will when someone writes that $50 million check. If that's you, please send it 23595 West 223rd Street in Spring Hill, Kansas 66083.
I don't think a check that size would come by mail, Jen.
Okay, well, you can wire the funds too. We do things. But here's the crazy thing. Almost $100,000 comes in every month from people giving $5, $10, $100. We're talking significantly smaller donations, but in mass quantities. And that's how we do the impossible, is because there's literally no guarantee that that will come next month. And so poor Jane, our treasurer, someday we would love for her to sleep at night without this poor worry on her chest that will we pay our bills? I don't know. I don't know that I don't know is the right answer. I don't know how we will. I know we will. And that's the difference. And I shared on a board call, because we have a lot of board meetings. Some of them are really tough because we do talk about the financials, and it's scary to have the responsibility of close to 40 staff members in our care and to know there are no guarantees in that. But to know what we do on the level that we do, that's why I say all the time, it's a God thing. If it was a me thing, if it was a one person thing, then I would worry. But the fact that it's a God thing, I know what will happen. And someone out there somewhere is going to be called to donate, large or small. It doesn't matter. Because like I said at the beginning, the one thing that you can do, the most selfish thing that you can ever do is to give your time, your money, your heart, whatever it is, because you get so much back in return. And you get to know that you are directly responsible for now saving almost 7,000 lives in 7 years. And that's where your donations go, not just to the animals too, but to the people who love and care for them as well. Because there's a really, really sad culture in rescue that thinks that the people who care for these animals should suffer, that they should be in turmoil, that they shouldn't make any money, that it should be selfless, that they should only be volunteers. Why? Aren't the people that care for and love these animals souls too? Shouldn't we be investing in them and their mental and physical health too? I would never want someone who worked for our organization to go home and feel financially exhausted, depleted, and to bring worry and turmoil home when they have such a hard emotional job and physical job here every single day. We should care and love for our people just as much as we are asking the world to care and love for animals too. So it's two ways. You cannot have a rescue that doesn't value their people, that values their animals. You can't. That's the way. Or you can't have a rescue that values their people and they're not their animals. It's got to be both, and it's got to be throwing out the old ways. So sorry, there's a med team calling right now. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I just shut it off.
You need to answer.
But always something is going on. No, I can't canceled it. Well, right now we've got a little Westie at Blue Pearl. She has a liver shunt. So I don't know too much about that, but I can share that story next time. But that's going to be a dog that is going to have between $5,000 and $8,000 to save her life. So when you think about doing one fundraiser and it bringing in, a couple $100, in the long run, it makes a huge difference. But to one dog, we take the ones literally nobody even gives a chance to, because it's a soul. And you just put the money aside and say, God's going to help us find a way, even when we don't know what that way is.
And there's been a lot of them, including puppies, over the last few months that we can get into.
Yeah, I can share that next time.
Well.
I promise.
I feel like there's been an influx of puppies coming through Always and Forever in full litters, not one-offs.
We've never had this many puppies in our care before.
No.
So it's been a whirlwind of puppies. So if you're looking to adopt, we would love to have you adopt. But man, I love puppies, but God bless the puppy fosters. That's all I have to say. Everybody pray for them. So
Sai, I think that's a good transition to your part.
Hey, Jen, we need a cover dog.
Okay,
Or cat.
Before we do a cover dog, can we just talk about our long-term adopters or adoptions that went to homes?
Yes.
Green Bean, Edison, who else? Tux.
Ooh.
Tux went to a home. Green Bean,
Joy.
Edison, Tux, Joy, Cranberry went to a foster. Okay, so these are dogs that no one would have kept in their care 3 to 4 years and said, let alone that in a shelter where they learned how to interact with human beings. Edison was psychotic when we
Where did
first saw
Edison go? I didn't see that update. I
he
saw.
got adopted.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, he
that's
went
great.
Green Bean. He went to Minnesota. He went to
I
Minnesota.
know somewhere up north.
Yeah, and so it's just, but that's the difference too, is that because our staff, you guys love those dogs too, because they love them so much and they care for them, they can wait. And we can invest where most other rescues just say, hey, that's a liability. We're throwing money into them for 3 to 4 years. And the thing that I hate the most that rescues say is that you could have just you could put hundreds of adoptable dogs in that one spot and just kept turning them around. Well, what about that one soul? What about Green Bean? Bones got adopted too. Bones, Tux. I mean, it's just, you can't help but cheer on the underdog. And it's just the most amazing, beautiful thing. So shout out to the Gray Barn they lost their faith for a little while because for 2 years, almost 3 years, not one dog was adopted. And your heart sinks because you love them so much.
And the saddest part about that one, even I noticed with Edison, was because they were older, starting to see their faces get gray, seeing them age in the shelter. But then it's that double-edged sword, but then also knowing that they're their age. I read a quote the other day that aging is, no, I'm going to forget it now. Aging is a privilege because not everybody gets to experience it, to truly embrace it and enjoy the process of it. And I just think of, well, not only me, but those dogs in the little gray shelter.
I love that. And I think that's a beautiful reminder human beings need to keep every day, because you look at that wrinkle and that wrinkle is there because you smiled.
That's what I'm feeling.
You made a memory in the sun, or you had the privilege to age another year. So when people get sad on their birthday, I never understood that in a sense of that, because it is a beautiful gift that God gives you. Many, many people don't. But on that note, I think this leads to a perfect transition of Luna should be our dog of the podcast, because she came to us in 2018. And beautiful Luna, I made every mistake along the way when I started this rescue because I was clueless. And she was actually our very first Wichita pull. We had a volunteer go to Wichita to pick up a senior beagle that we named Sheldon. And there were 6 dogs on the youth list that day. Linda called me and said, Jen, I may have shared this story. And she said, Jen, there's 6 dogs. Can I save them all? And I said, okay. So she put them all in a minivan, no leashes, no kennel. None of them knew each other. They weren't dog tested in any sense, and just drove them out here. And one of them was Luna. And at that day, I was like, where do we put these dogs? They're young. There's only one that's old, and we're supposed to be a senior dog sanctuary. And there was a volunteer that just happened to stop by that day. We did no background check, didn't know a single thing. And she just said, well, I'll foster her. And I foolishly and stupidly just gave her Luna and said, okay, I trust you. And to a fault, I trust people. But there's a million different checks and balances along the way. Unfortunately, Luna was abused in that home. And she was thankfully returned. And she went through a series of 3 or 4 different homes, adoptions that didn't work out. She resource guarded. She likes some dogs. She doesn't like dogs. One owner loved her. Then she got pregnant. The boyfriend didn't want him. So she has been with us since 2018. And what you shared about watching her grow old, as much as I love her and I get to take care of her every single morning, I have a deep inner ache for her, because I know all that girl wants to do is snuggle. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't need to be the only pet. She does well with certain male dogs. She protects her humans, and we can call it resource guarding. It's going to take a special person to know and understand her. She was adopted out of state to a woman that we shared that Luna loses her mind at the vet. She has an extreme fear of the vet's office to where she cannot process it, and it goes kind of into rage mode. Some dogs actually have this. It's very real situation. And we shared this with her, and we took her word, and we trusted her. She loved Luna. She met her. Within a week, she brought Luna to the vet, saw it, got scared, and returned her. So Luna is a special needs case, but my God, she has so much love to give. And to anyone that would be willing to open their home and heart up to her, you would have all of our prayers, support, and love, to give it a chance to. She did get to go on her first hotel doggy sleepover, which was amazing. And she did so good. So proud of her. And it's like I said, it's those little moments of the time and your love that you give to them that are so special, because she hadn't had that in years. And so if you can, pray for Luna. She deserves a family of her own. And even if she never ever gets one, she has all of us, just like TK and Copper. So, but she is adoptable. They are not. Different story, different podcast. So, all right. I just chatted away. You guys have
I always try to do a half hour, 40-minute limit, and I think we're at 50.
Perfect. I feel like that was good for me. So, there's so much to share, you guys.
I'm going to do an AI analysis of this, and it's going to be like 99.9% Jennifer Dulski talking.
It really was this time. But in my defense, I had to get you guys up to speed, because
you did. You totally did.
I haven't had it in a while. So we should, if you said, let's do this every Monday night, I could talk your ear off.
No,
there is going to be a part 2.
No.
Maybe a part 3.
And then we'll start letting other guests in.
I can fill your calendar up with them. They got stories to share.
We're going to get it back on schedule now that football season's, we got a few more weeks, not even, less than a month left.
All right,
everyone. As always, it's never too late for happily ever after.